One more. Yeah. All right. Huh? Mic check. Okay. Can y'all hear me? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. No? Yes? All right. Good afternoon, Capsuleers. Did you hear that? Yes. All right. Welcome to Fanfest. I think this is okay. All right. Welcome to Fanfest. We are thrilled to be celebrating Eve's 20th birthday with you all over the next 3 days. Thank you for flying into Reykjavik and for joining us here at the EVE-Clusive Gamer Circle, where it's a space where everyone is welcomed and embraced, and we appreciate you. So thank you for coming. The hope for bringing us all together today is to continue to build and reinforce the bonds that we share, both in New Eden and in real life, in order to create a strong and inclusive community for us all. Who you are, your personality, your identity, how you play EVE Online. This is how you bring EVE Online to life every single day when you log in. And that is the magic that we like to call the friendship machine. This is what EVE community is all about, friendship. And today, I'm excited to have some of this fabulous community here with us, both in CCP devs and EVE Online players. So we'll be hearing from them shortly as they share their experiences about EVE Online with us. So thank you. So why the focus on community? Some people would say that, this is just a video game, so who cares? But this is really important for CCP, as we believe that the purpose of EVE Online extends far beyond traditional gaming and entertainment. It is really about friendship and nurturing and taking care of each other, built on trust. So this is why CCP has, decided to create this virtual and meaningful sci-fi world where we can all come together, not only to collaborate and to strategize, but also to make meaningful friendships and forge connections. So we have decided that today we will talk about community, we're going to invest in community, and Fanfest, and all of you here, are the truest manifestations of the friendship machine. So of course, this all starts with each and every one of you. It's about your personality, your identity, your needs, your motivations, your gender. All of this is what you bring to EVE Online. The chats you send, the trades you make, the wars you fight, that is the tangible output of the friendship machine, and that is those bonds that keep EVE Online alive every single day. And safety, diversity, and inclusion are the necessary ingredients to make this all work. And that is why today, here as CCP devs and as players, we are going to try and find new ways to make the friendship machine come alive. And we're going to use our gameplay mechanics to elevate who you are in EVE Online. So our hope is that as CCP devs, we can continue to lay the bricks for the foundation for a healthy and exciting gameplay. Now, over the summer, we did some research. We reached out to some EVE Online players, perhaps some of you in this room, and we asked your experiences. Now, please know this is the first step of our journey in understanding the step of, building a welcoming, inclusive, and safe journey, and we want to take that journey with you. So this survey, this panel discussion, this is all to help us grow and to create those bonds together and to share those experiences and to fuel that friendship machine. So we welcome you on this journey with us. And later on today, after we hear from these wonderful people on stage, we will be opening it up to audience Q&A. So we definitely want to hear from you as well. And later on, we have a networking event in Seeker-Salarin, which is downstairs if you've not been. We'll be sharing a little bit more of our research in depth, and you can talk to either myself or CCP Essia, who have been very involved in doing that research, if you want any more information. If you also didn't have a chance to fill out the survey, we have little QR codes in Seeker Salon, so you can just click on that and take the survey. We'd love to hear from you. So, what did we hear in the survey? We had about 13,000 people fill out the survey. Out of that, 9,000 approximately were playing EVE at that current moment in time. And from there, we had about majority of our players, 90%, were male. 3.5%, 4% identified as female, 2% identified as non-binary, and we had about a handful of people, 5%, that preferred not to answer. So this is the audience that you will be seeing today that we talk about. When you see the data, we'll be referring to them in 3 different sections: males, non-binary, and female. So let's begin these conversations and start to dive in and see what we found out. And with that, I'm going to introduce our lovely, lovely panel. So starting from the right here, we have CCP Emerald from the Emerald City itself. The senior brand manager for EVE Online has nearly a decade of experience as a brand and product manager, working with dev teams to ensure the work they do developing games is well positioned to excite and activate players. Growing up, games were always part of her life, whether it be board games, computer games, or Nintendo. And she clearly never outgrew them because she is often one to host Mario Kart game nights or play D&D at home. So welcome, Emerald. CCP Loveless. CCP Loveless is a Joan of all trades and a tool developer from the city of Fear, Reykjavik. She has worked for 17 years in the gaming industry, from creating concepts and models to writing code. And she barely knows anything else besides textures and tools. In her free time, she's quite insane and likes controlling armies of elves to destroy the Imperium of Man while contemplating the why of existence. Her favorite animals are cat and geese. So thank you, CCP Loveless. We'll welcome CCP Essia to the floor. She's a senior data scientist, very involved in the research and the work that you see here today. She leads data products within CCP London and machine learning projects for EVE Online. In her free time, she likes to play open world RPGs and casual FPSs. So welcome, Essia. CCP Zinnia is a hungry bug hunter with over 6 years of testing experience in the industry. She is a proud QA analyst for one of the content teams here in Reykjavik. But even though she loves finding digital bugs, she can't really stand spiders in real life. She also has a hard time leaving her QA role outside of work, causing her teammates trouble when playing PvP or getting stuck and crashing in the client during crucial moments. So look out, CCP Zinnia. Next, we have Grey Gal, which I'm sure you all may know. Grey Gal has been playing EVE Online for over 14 years. She's an amazing fleet commander in real life and in EVE Online. And she is responsible for, helping tens of thousands of newbies learn how to play EVE Online. And Fanfest couldn't happen without her. So thank you, Grey Gal, for joining us today. And on my other side, I have Kishal. Kishal has been playing EVE Online for about 3.5 years. I believe you were saying that your partner was playing and tried to get you to play, and she didn't want to, but then one day she decided, and now she's kicking butt, and also a fleet commander, MPSI fleets, helping newbies play EVE Online. So thank you, Kishal. So we welcome CCP Eclipse. Born and raised in Iceland, she's a devoted computer scientist serving as a software engineer within one of the content teams at CCP Games. Eclipse commitment extends beyond the digital realm. They are a passionate advocate for equality with a special focus on promoting gender equality within the tech industry. In her spare time, Eclipse finds joy immersing herself in the captivating world of fantasy RPGs. Welcome. Next, we have Dilana, another EVE Online player. Dilana has been playing for 7 years, and she flies and does lobby. Welcome, Dilana. Introducing CCP Moss, a talent acquisition specialist with an advocate for diversity and inclusion within the gaming industry. With her keen eye for talent and a passion for the gaming industry, CCP Moss has played a crucial role in building the dream teams behind some of CCP's iconic projects in recent years. But there's more to Moss than meets the eye. When not busy scouting and recruiting top-tier talent, CCP Moss is a die-hard board gamer and spends most of her time either collaborating with or killing her friends. Okay, welcome, CCP Moss. And last, but definitely not least, we have CCP Mercury. She is a visual artist from Italy. After working 7 years in the comic book industry, she transitioned to video games, designing user interfaces for PC and mobile. An introvert pretending to be an extrovert, she enjoys embarrassing herself in RPGs, be it on pen and paper or in MMOs. When her social batteries run low, you can find her at her desk playing puzzle games or starting yet another DIY project. So welcome, Mercury. So I am very fortunate to share the stage with all of these amazing devs and players, and without further ado, we're going to jump in and learn a little bit more about them. So I'll start with CCP Emeralds. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Tell me, what inspired you to pursue a career in games, and what drew you to EVE Online?
Hello? Is it on? Okay. All right. Yeah, so I have always been a pretty creative person. Thinking back to my childhood, my brother and I would sit out in the backyard. We'd make up stories and play games together, and either in the backyard, board games, computer games. I mean, computers came out when I was a kid, so we got stuck into that. And I kind of fell into games, but it ended up being perfect for me because it creates a great venue to create and share stories, just really lean into that creativity and bring it out so that people can enjoy the experiences that we create. And honestly, I never imagined myself working in games, but I would not change it for the world. I absolutely love what I do.
Thank you. CCP Mercury, what about you? What drew you to a career in games, and what brought you to EVE Online?
Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay. I'm actually coming from the comics industry. I was working as a freelancer for comic books, but I was really looking for an environment that fosters growth and also human connection, which is not what you get when you're freelancing and drawing comic book pages. And I also wanted to be in the video gaming industry, but opportunities in Italy weren't that many. So I took a leap of faith and applied to CCP, transition career, and I was fortunate enough to be hired 1 year ago. So that's how I got into it. It was a dream of mine that I wasn't brave enough to pursue for 8 years until 1 year ago. That's it.
Thank you. CCP Zinnia, what about you? What inspired you to pursue a career in games?
Let's see, does it work now? Yes, it works? Okay. Yeah, so for me, I was here in Iceland. It must have been over 10 years ago now. I was here for a summer job. I was just, in my, years of thinking of what I wanted to do with my life. And figured out that I love games, so I searched for educations, got in, studied game design and programming for 3 years. Then afterwards, I started working as a QA, loved QA, stayed as QA, still a QA. And yeah, then I listened to a lot of podcasts about games and heard a lot of EVE Online. And especially one that was about the Judgment Day. Yeah. And I was just hooked. I really wanted to be part of that community. And here I am today. Super proud of being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Xenia. CCP Essia, what about you?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was a data scientist for a while before I started at CCP, but yeah, I love gaming myself, and then I was living in Iceland, and CCP was just very much the perfect fit. Great environment, and I love it.
Thank you. CCP Loveless, what are some of the most rewarding experiences you've had while working on EVE Online?
Wearing many hats is probably the biggest pride I have. Like, I've concepted, I've modeled, I've worked on tools, I've scripted a lot of stuff. And my for people is just the universal appeal of not being stuck in one role and being able to just do a lot of things, especially like in the early days. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Grey Gal, hi. What specific aspect or experience of EVE Online initially drew you to the game 14 years ago?
Well, it was 3 in the morning, and I was... Oops, sorry. My voice travels anyway. Hello. Okay. But yeah, it was like literally 3 in the morning. I was kind of bored and saw this little advertisement, and I was like going, yeah, I could use a new game to try, and I downloaded it. And 11 days later, it was okay. But and then this was right after Apocrypha, so wormholes were brand new. And I decided to scan out a wormhole, jumped in, warped off looking for something, and then I couldn't figure out how to get out. There was just, I didn't know I needed to bookmark the exit, And I'm like typing in newbie chat, how do I get out of here? And nobody really knew how. And they were like, well, maybe you just need to wait to downtime and it'll kick you out automatically or something. I mean, literally, that's what, like, one of the yellow ones, the people who are supposed to know what's going on said. And a player, a total stranger, he asked me if I remembered what system I was in. And I did. And he, when I scanned it out, and he says, well, I'll try and scan it out and come rescue you. And everybody in the chat is like, don't do it. He's going to blow you up. It's a scam. Whatever you do, don't flee. You'll lose everything. And everything I owned is in this little catalyst. And I was lost in space. And I'd never experienced that in a game before. I'm like up and down, walking around, just pacing, like, how do I get out? And this guy scanned, sent me a fleet invite, said warp to me. And, everybody says in EVE that don't trust anybody, but sometimes really the only way to really get it in EVE is you got to trust somebody. I warped to him. He said, hop on out. I hopped on out. He dropped me from fleet and sent me 100,000 ISK. Great. And I went, grabbed my wallet, and subscribed right away. That was it.
Thank you. Michelle, what about you? What brought you to EVE Online? What drew you to the game initially?
Is this on?
Yes.
So I tried playing with my husband. I never got unducked. I hated it. I rage uninstalled. Said, screw it, you can go play triangles in space. And a couple years later, they came out with the alpha concept, so I tried it again. I got undocked. I never got into a ship. I was floating around. Something came by and blopped me, and I'm like, screw this. I don't need this in my life. I uninstalled it. Third time's a charm. So 2020, I loaded it up. I started playing. I decided that I was going to be a solo player in high sec. I'm not going to do anything silly like go out into null sec. And then I heard an interview from her. And I went out on her fleet the next week. And everything else is her fault. So I started doing Nubro roams myself. And I joined up with Fun Inc., MPSI community. And pretty soon, someone said, you need to start doing this thing with new bros in incursion fleets. It didn't work. The community kept popping mom, and in MPSI, that doesn't really work. So the next year, they came with an agreement. We could schedule it, so I started something called EVE Rookies. And we started with incursions 1 time a week. We got a bunch of newbies out, gave them praxis. blew it up. They got like 200 mil in their wallet. They thought they were the richest people in the world, went off and did stuff. Pretty soon that became 2, 3, 4. I think we run like 4 to 5 fleets a week now. We now do FOB fleets. We do level 4 mission fleets. We do, I think we just got mining and wormhole ratting. And we run around 34 fleets a month. We have 70 unique new bro and returning vets coming back into the ecosystem every month. And yeah, so that's my career in EVE, summing it up.
Well, thank you. Glad to have you. So Dilana, could you walk us through what a typical day in New Eden looks like for you?
Ooh, a typical day in New Eden for me is usually receiving a ping on Discord. Fleet's up, you better join it. And then so I log in, and of course they're saying, we're not leaving until we get more Logi. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing Logi again. And then they're like, oh, we need a Logi anchor. Delana, you do it. I'm like, okay, thanks. Or sometimes I do it on my own, but that's what I do a lot of is just big fleet fights with other people in nullsec. Usually doing some kind of loging, whether I'm the logi anchor or just following the logi anchor. But most of it is just either doing directly PvP or supporting PvP activities like buying usually more drones when they kill all my drones. Buying more logi ships. Occasionally doing PvE when I have to. But I just like blowing people up, so. I guess, yeah, that's mostly what I do.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So CCP Eclipse, hi.
Hi.
What advice would you give to aspiring female game developers who want to have a career in video game design?
I think the most important thing is to believe in yourself and stick to your guns. When I first told people that I wanted to be a game dev, they looked at me a bit like I just told them I wanted to be a unicorn. But like a career in games is always becoming a more viable option. The industry is expanding, and there is a place for you in it. It's so like we need diversity in this industry. So please don't let like adversity give you up. Like, please believe in yourself. You can do it.
Thank you. Thank you. CCP Moss, from your perspective as a talents acquisitions manager, what advice would you give to young aspiring game developers who want to get into a career in video games?
It's really just like daring to dream. When I originally applied for the job that I am in, for example, I did not meet every single requirement listed on that job spec. And I know that it's often a tendency that women don't put themselves out there unless they're 100% sure that they're going to succeed and they meet every single thing. So even if you don't, just shoot your shot, really. Just go for it. If it's something you really want to do, just be passionate and, yeah, don't be afraid to dream and just go with it.
Thank you so much. All right, well, we talked about EVE Online and the friendship machine, and it's something that we are very proud of because I think, as Greg L. mentioned, this is a game where we're killing people and stealing shit and all of this stuff, but our relationships are built on trust. And what we found out in this survey and in previous surveys consistently is that our players, regardless of gender, have made friends in New Eden. So 80%, it's a little bit higher for women and non-binary than men, but 80% of you have made a friend in New Eden. And I think, again, this is one of the truest manifestations of this. I remember doing a Fanfest survey after Fanfest last year, and a lot of you come not because you're playing the game or because you want to see the keynote, but to hang out with your friends, and again, it is the friendship machine, and I think it's something unique to EVE Online. So, CCP Mercury. The friendship machine plays a crucial role in shaping player interactions and experiences. Can you share a compelling example or insight on how your work directly contributes to fueling the friendship machine?
I would love to.
Thank you.
So I'm mainly focusing on factional warfare, and not just myself, but the entire team really thinks about gathering players in one area of space, be it because they want them to fight against each other and kill each other, or maybe build alliances. So, for example, in the Warzone, we're trying to gather the most PvP activities in front lines, so that New Eden is such a vast universe, and it's hard to gather players in a star system or in a region. So what we really try to do is get players together, have them maybe join an empire faction as opposed to a corporation, because that requires a little less commitment. Like, you don't have to stick to a schedule, but you can still get a chance of playing against or with other players. And that's where community begins. And maybe you want to commit and join a corporation or join an alliance. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Kashal, as we said, social aspect of EVE Online is huge. As a seasoned vet of New Eden, is there any guidance or tips that you would offer to non-male gamers who are considering to dive into the world of EVE Online for the first time?
Just do it. I mean, it's that simple. Install it. It's free. You have to reach out and you have to talk to someone, because, trust is one of those things that you just have to do it. Yeah, it may be broken every now and then, but EVE players, we're really not that big of bad guys. I know that I go out, I love killing ventures, I'm known for it, I get yelled at for it, and always at the end, I'll mail them and give them a little bit of ISK and tell them, this is what you need to do. So, yeah, even though the majority of the game is male, our characters are our characters, and a lot of people don't even look at each other as our characters. It's more just, it's that Inyo, it's that Loki, it's that, whatever ship is out there. Yeah, just reach out and talk to people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Gregel, Kashal had just mentioned trust. So in your experience, how do you go about establishing and nurturing trust with other players in the complex world that is New Eden?
Ooh, good question. It starts with the fleet. Flying together. That's really where it starts, because the only way a fleet really does succeed is if everybody trusts that, not just what the FC is saying and deciding, but everybody they're flying with. And of course, that's also the root of where most of the friendships are built. And just get in a fleet, fly together over and over and over again. I used to say, I still say it, that I can know more about a person and how they are in fleet than than almost anything else in game. How they fly, how they interact with everyone else, whether or not they listen to me when they should, and whether or not they go ahead and do something that is the right thing to do instead of listening to me. Oh, that was a good tackle, even though I said don't tackle them. All right, turned out it was right. But yeah, it starts with the fleet. And the fleet is the core of the social experience in EVE. And it doesn't matter what kind of fleet it is. I talk about PvP fleets, but it could be a mining fleet, it could be a ganking fleet, any kind of fleet. That's where the root of everything in EVE begins.
Thank you. So you heard it here first from two of the most amazing players that we have. Just do it and fly a fleet. So that's how we get new people in the game. Done. Yeah. Done.
The sooner you get somebody into a fleet, the more likely they're going to stay in the game and stay in the game. And the more often they're in a fleet, they're going to stay in the game much longer.
Yeah. I think we agree with you. Well, thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's so true. No sorries here. Okay, Dilana, as a player who identifies as female in the EVE Online community, could you give your perspective or share any distinctive experiences that you've gained while playing the game?
I'd say, I would say like finding a group of other women who play the game. We've had our own little groups, our servers, where like it's just such a different perspective. Like, I mean, most of like the vast majority of people I talk with or interact with related to EVE are going to be men. But sometimes it is nice just having our own little space where we can, talk about just our own things that we can all kind of relate to each other on. I mean, I still love my guy friends, but it's just different when there's people that are like intrinsically, like we have things in common, just like straight up. Like, I mean, we've all dealt with, you know, guys being stupid to us, and if you know, some people have been harassed, but it's all like we all keep together. We're all say like, oh, that guy was messing with you, he's stupid, and we all agree on that. We can all like support each other, because a lot of us, we've been playing games since we were little, and we've dealt with this a long time, and it's just good to all, you know, be together, and it's very unique, especially with EVE. Just finding other gamers that are women, and we all just play together.
Thank you. Kishal, in your experience, what kind of support networks or resources have you found valuable in EVE Online, and how do they contribute to your gaming experience?
I think for me it was just luck. I just happened to fall into the MPSI community, and I just happened to fall into the right hands. You know, from the day that I wandered in as I think I showed up in an interceptor and was like, okay, you're gonna play scout today. I'm like, what? I'm only a month and a half old in the game. She's like, I don't care, you're an interceptor, you're gonna go out and scout. So it's just those type of, she gave me the room to grow. And even, you know, in my current corporation, Fun Inc., it's like, you can go out and take fleet out. You know, it doesn't matter, just take something cheap. And yeah, so that's the type of thing that I'm trying to put out into the game as well with EVE Rookies. We give a lot of room to people who want to FC or want to try something different to go and do it. I only have one female FC out of everyone. No, sorry, two. The rest are male. I would love to have more female coming in because, you know, we can do it just like everybody else. So yeah, find some place that says you can do it, not that you have to do this first, this first, this first. You have to take a 50-page test at the end. It's just really going out and doing it.
Thanks. CCPS, yeah. Hi. Speaking of building a diverse and inclusive community in EVE, are there specific strategies, initiatives, or changes that you have championed or been involved in to foster inclusivity and diversity in EVE Online CCP games?
Yeah, so personally, I'm a Women in Games ambassador, so I just really thrive for this. And I think to make EVE more diverse and inclusive, it just needs to start with us developers to be more diverse. So I've also been taking part in university days, talking to students, and yeah, just show that we're out there and recruit more diverse devs.
Great, thank you. And actually, CCP Moss, around those same, from your perspective as talent acquisition manager, what are some of the things that you are proud of championing here at CCP to foster diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, thank you. So we do quite a lot of things when it comes to talent acquisition. I'm also a Women in Games ambassador, so we are together on that one. But we also think a lot about, you know, how can we shift, you know. Traditionally, a lot more men have been entering areas like programming, game design, all of these things that you often go into making video games. So we in the HR department have been, you know, focusing on getting more young people in. So really we had like every once in a while we have like a group of teenage girls come in and we'll teach them about, you know, what is programming, what is game making, see all of these wonderful, you know, people here that are doing that are just like you. And hopefully this will also create this change because we don't have as many women in this industry as we have men. And we somehow need to change this, and it's going to take a long time, but we are taking a lot of different steps towards that.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome is when you're in a situation and you feel as though you don't belong. And even if you do belong, you still feel as though you are an imposter. And oftentimes, you don't take credit for your own successes because you think they're attributed to other people. Because again, you just don't belong and you're an imposter. So, CCP Zinnia. Many developers in the gaming industry have mentioned that they have experienced imposter syndrome at some point in their careers. Have you ever felt like you were experiencing imposter syndrome in the gaming industry?
Yes, I have. It actually started very early on in my career. So it was on my first job. This was not CCP, so this was another game company. And I had just started. This was my first week. And one of my colleagues accidentally said that I only got hired because I was a girl and that the company needed to increase the amount of female employees within the company. And it didn't feel that great, you're starting up, getting your foot into the industry. So I felt like I had to do, a lot more and prove myself a lot to earn, my place there. And it didn't help that I was the only girl in a team of 12 QAs. And I had a meeting after my probation time was over with my manager, producer, and the higher up. And they were there saying that, hey, you did a great job. You have actually, you managed to do the QA, much better than maybe many others had done before you. But I couldn't hear that. All I could hear was blah, blah, blah. You're just one in the statistics in our, company of female employees. And it didn't change until I actually started to talk about it with some of my colleagues. They were saying something, giving me some kind of credit for something, and I just brushed it off, like whatever. And then we had a conversation, and we realized that shit, this is like, imposter syndrome. And that's my advice to any of you who feel like you have that please talk about it. It's so important to talk about it. For me, it helped at least. I know it's not for everyone. Everyone is different. But yes, that's what I would bring, to you guys. And if you feel like you have that and you would like to talk to me, I'm going to be here today, tomorrow, and through all of Fanfest. And I would love to, support in any way possible. So yeah.
Thank you so much, CCP Zinnia.
May I add something?
Absolutely, CCP Moss.
Yes, so imposter syndrome is also a huge thing as well when it comes to talent acquisition. So one of the things that we actually do as well to combat that is to, think about the requirements, how we write job adverts to try to make sure that this sounds like a place where women belong and non-binary people belong, like people with different genders, so that you realize that you are a person that can really contribute in this space. And this is not about compromising on talent. It's not about, lowering requirements in the sense of, hiring less skilled people. It's more about making sure that we speak and show that this is a place where women, non-binary people, that they are supported, they have value, they contribute, they are important. And this is shown in so many of our different efforts as well, because this is a real thing, and we encounter this all the time, unfortunately.
Thank you, CCP Moss. So similar to imposter syndrome, I guess somewhat of a parallel, is only girl syndrome. Only girl syndrome happens often when you're one of a couple of women in a group of males. And I say women, I mean non-males. So you are not a male and you're in a group. And in this survey, we actually asked a question. It's not up here, but we asked, out of your friends group in New Eden, what percentage of that group is male? And a lot of the women's groups were, 90, 95, 99% male. So we saw, and then we also asked this question, have you experienced only girl syndrome, which is, again, being, one of a few or the only woman in a group, which unfortunately leads to some negative consequences. So one, it can lead to unwanted attention from other members in the group or microaggressions. The other thing, which is a phenomenon a little strange, but I understand it, is the women become more and more competitive against each other because they believe that there's room for only one. And so when we asked this question in the survey, have you experienced only girl syndrome? Almost 3/4 of non-male respondents said that they had experienced that. So, Grego, have you ever experienced only girl syndrome in EVE Online?
Oh,
and
yeah.
okay, tell us about it. And how have you combated it?
You know, I don't know that for me, it was necessarily a negative, except that sometimes when other, women came in, when I was not just I was no longer the queen bee and the solo bee, sometimes I may have found myself being not as friendly as I should have been. Viewing them as competition in a way that I shouldn't have. You're stepping on my toes, man. I've been here. I've already put in the work. I've already done all the, laid all the groundwork. I've already put up with all the bullshit and, oops.
It's okay.
How dare you thinking you can just, and that is one of the negative sides of only girl syndrome, or as I always know it as being the queen bee syndrome, But on the other hand, EVE, because women are so few in EVE, being the queen bee is really awesome. Okay, in many ways, women have, because we're such a rare thing in so many ways, we have advantages and opportunities that, just another guy doesn't have. No offense, and I'm using gender terms and, kind of just generalizations here. Women tend to be more trusted and also tend to have the ability to advance higher in the hierarchy in EVE and alliances and corporations than we would in other games where gender roles the percentages are more even, or at least not only 5 or 7%. If you look at most of the major alliances in EVE, there's a woman high up there who is making things happen that you may not even know exist, especially in the logistics area and the administrative areas and stuff. And without that woman there, the whole thing might fall apart. And of course, some of the most famous scammers that in EVE happen to be women. And you would never know it. So it's something I still myself am recognizing that I sometimes myself play a role in that's not as good as it should be. But being aware of it is the first step.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Grey Gal. Well, we're almost at time here, and I just wanted to let you know that we have wine downstairs in Sikorsalaren, and all of us here on the panel are going to be downstairs, so you can come and ask us more questions, have a chat with us. As CCP Zinnia said, we will all be at Fanfest all weekend long, so feel free to grab us and say hello. We'll be going through the research in more detail. So you see this beautiful infographic that our fellow mate CCP Gugner put together. We'll have printouts of this in the salon as well. So yeah, please definitely feel free to join us. But till then, we have a few minutes for audience Q&A. And I would just ask if you have any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, let's just come over there with the microphone. We're coming right over. Right over there.
Hopefully this thing's working. I was thinking about the EVE trailers. Most of the EVE trailers have been male-dominated. Do you think having a non-male character as a main role for them would actually help bring in non-males to the game?
That is a great question. I'm going to pass that along to CCP Emerald.
Hi. Thank you. That's a fantastic question. This is something that we have, over the last year, been trying to introduce more. You'll notice that some of the current trailers have non-male characters being more represented. Sorry? Yeah, and this is something that we are definitely driving more of as well, and I can definitely see opportunities to bring more female characters and non-male characters into play. I think just showing diversity in the way we present EVE to the public is important, and hopefully that will make people. It'll inspire people to join the game.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, there's one right up here. We're making sure he gets his steps in today, so we'll be right over.
Hi. Thanks. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. This was a fantastic panel. Thank you very much for putting this on. My question is really around the portrayal of women in games, and particularly in EVE Online. And it seems to me, as a man, that a lot of what's presented in terms of female personas is overly sexualized. And I wondered what the panel's opinion was on that.
I think we agree, but does anyone have any specific? Yeah, I think we would agree. Anyone disagree? Yeah. I think we had a question over here. Oh.
I was just going to say to that note, we were working on I think it was the Uprising teaser trailer, and the character animation for the original version I saw had the most interesting walk that I'd be happy to tell you about later, and that we promptly changed out. When I first saw it, I was very shocked.
Demonstrations later in Seeker Saladin, so make sure you come. All right, I think we had a question. If you raise your hand, yep, right there, down here, and then one over here. And
so it seems like there would be an obvious, easy way to include more diversity, which would be just allowing male characters and female characters to wear different gender clothes. Is there a technical issue about why that can't be done, or has it just not been thought of, which I don't think is...
And that was in regards to characters?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Does anyone want to take a question about characters and character creation? Yeah? Svante?
You're talking about mixing like clothing or something? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in a way of doing it. It's just mostly just needing a manpower to actually just make models fit whatever body, because the original bodies that were made, they were kind of just like stuck in like certain sizes and certain portions, and it's basically just like I said, it needs manpower to actually just produce them. And who knows, maybe if people want it, then I would think it's fantastic to actually add more options. I love options.
Okay, yeah, any more questions? There's a couple right here. Yeah, one right here.
Hi, so I see on this graphic it mentions aesthetic customization as something that is more interesting to non-male players. And I've just realized that in all the games that I'm really into, that tends to be the motivator, is like, well, if I can work for a faction that will give me clothes for my character to wear to show that I've done the missions working for the faction, then that will motivate me to do the thing. But there isn't really anything like that in EVE. Is there a possibility to maybe do something like that, where, like, you can get pirate apparel by working for pirates, for example?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
let us design our own clothes.
There we go.
Hairstyles. Can we have curly hair, big curly hair?
New Eden Fashion Week 2024. Here we come.
Cat ears, let players create these things.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Greg L said, "Let players create." Wonderful. Did you have something, Emerald?
Oh, just I think that's a great idea. It's definitely a topic of conversation. Yeah.
I would just add thing. As a person that grinds every skin in Fortnite, I agree. Just grinding new looks is amazing.
Do we have time for another? Maybe I can add something on that.
Yeah,
like
CCP
that's something
Mercury.
that we often discuss with factional warfare. Also for rewarding players, like aesthetics is one of the things that comes up more frequently because it's just hype. First of all, and it's a way to reward players and also insist on the lore aspect of the game and the role-playing, because it's cool if you can show that you're aligned with the faction and winning for that faction. And also if you're losing, like you still want to take some pride and show to other players what you're doing in the game. So that's something that we keep in our minds, for sure.
One more, yeah. We can keep going. I don't know when they're going to kick us off the stage, so.
Okay, I had to write this down because otherwise it became too difficult. Based on the numbers on the screen, non-binary players and female players seem to be more into the social aspect of the game. I get that out of the graphics at the bottom left. But also from role-playing, and partially that's also the aesthetics and customization. One of the challenges for a new player, though, is finding social contact. Yes, you have local chat, nobody reads it. I have no idea why we still have it. I bet I insult people now with that, but whatever. What can CCP and what can the community do to increase the possibilities for a new player in finding that social contact? But because in my experience, that is key to have them play, keep them playing, and keep them around for a long time. What can we as a community and what can CCP do in this aspect?
Yeah.
Hello, hi. I work on a team which is really focused on new players, so this is a question we've been asking ourselves quite a lot. And what we have been kind of trying to do is try to empower the corporations and trying to improve, like if there's some UI we can do better, and it's a continuous process. We work a lot with players, like Scorpio Star has been excellent with. So yeah, it's a continuous process. So yeah, I don't have a clear answer, but yeah, we're looking into it. Yeah.
I think the other thing on CCP Eclipse's team is that, like Greg said, help them to find other players that they can build trust with, fly with, fight with, kill with. So, how do we continue to fuel that friendship machine and find vets that can bring some newbies under their wings?
Yeah, I have something. At least in terms of the community, like outside of CCP, as someone who's been really involved with just all sorts of community things, without anything super fancy, it's just reaching out to people, saying I go months without hearing another female voice in fleet comms, and I think a lot of times when you see that, some women don't have only girl syndrome, it's a lot of times because they just never speak up. You never know. There's probably a lot more women that play this game than you ever realize. They never say anything. They're kind of isolated because they're probably shy or they're scared to speak up, and then they just kind of fade away because it's not fun for them. So just kind of reaching out to them. A lot of times it'd be like, oh, you're a girl? Come join our Discord. Just first off, one of the first things I say, or I DM them. I hear another girl in Fleet Chat. I'm like, oh my God, there's a girl. I'm going to DM you in a second. We're going to talk. So just little things like that, just kind of approaching people even if they might be shy. It's kind of scary stepping out into the group, especially if you might stick up because guys will be like, oh my God, it's a girl. Yeah, I've gotten that, yeah. Oh, it's definitely happened to me, yeah. Yeah, so just like I said, community with just women helping each other out, even if it's just such a simple thing as just sending them a message or even just chatting them up in game, hey, do you need help? Do you want to join our group? My corporation is pretty cool. My alliance has some groups. I assure you there's some girls there if you want to hang out with us. Just doing that kind of thing, just reaching out, just trying to get some groups. If we had better tools, that would really be helpful. But just even the little tiniest thing, I think, can help with that.
Thank you. Well, unfortunately, that is time for us here in this room. But as I mentioned, we will be moving downstairs. To get to the downstairs room, you have to go out the main doors and just go around the corner, and that's where you'll see the entrance for Seeker Salarin. And we would love to continue the conversation with you there. Before we leave, I did forget to read the disclaimer about the research, so let me just do that. So CCPS, doesn't get mad. All analysis shown is based on the survey respondents from the survey we sent out in August 2023, and they are respondents that consider themselves as active EVE players, about 9,000. And then we shared the numbers of the gender breakout. But however, as we are not collecting gender as part of our account creation, user sign up, This analysis is based solely on the survey, just so you know. So that was the disclaimer. But thank you all for opening your hearts and minds and listening to us share our stories. We really appreciate it. As you said, this is not going to be the last you hear from us, the women and non-males of EVE. So thank you, and fly safe in New Eden. Thanks for joining us today.